So, when you think of ancient wonders, your mind probably jumps to the Great Pyramids or the Colosseum, right? But what about the invisible systems that made all of that possible? Today, we're going to talk about how ancient water technology was so much more than just pipes and canals. It was the engine, the lifeblood, that literally built entire civilizations, shaped our cities, and even saved millions of lives. Okay, let's just jump right in with a fact that is going to blow your mind. Deep in the jungles of Central America, the Maya were using a combination of quartz and a mineral called zeolite to purify their water. This created what was essentially a molecular sieve, a filter so advanced it could trap dangerous microbes. I mean, that's not just clever, that's almost space-age stuff for the time. A technology that basically vanished and wasn't seen again for 2,000 years. And believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. All right, so first up, let's talk about the sheer engineering brilliance here. We're going to explore how these ancient peoples had this incredible grasp of physics, geology, and even materials science to totally reshape the world around them. Now, this is where it gets really cool, because you can see how geography was basically destiny. Over in China, you've got these massive, powerful rivers. So their whole strategy was about taming that power, diverting all that water for their farms and cities. But in a dry place like Greece, it was the complete opposite. Their whole game was about catching and saving every single drop. They became masters of managing scarcity. Two totally different problems, two equally brilliant solutions. And speaking of clever solutions for dry places, check this out, the qanat. This was invented in ancient Persia, and it's just an incredibly smart way to tap into underground water sources and then guide that water from miles and miles in a tunnel so the hot desert sun couldn't make it evaporate. This tech was so good it spread all across the ancient world, from North Africa to China. Okay, now let's talk about the Romans. Their aqueducts weren't just huge, they were masterpieces of precision. You know, the real magic wasn't just how big they were. It was this perfect, tiny slope they engineered. Just enough for gravity to pull the water along, but not so steep that the water would wear away the channel. They mastered the arch to cross huge valleys and even invented their own waterproof concrete called opus signinum to make sure nothing leaked. It was a complete end-to-end system. So, you're probably picturing those amazing, towering bridges when you think of a Roman aqueduct, yeah? Well, get this. The vast majority of them, over 80%, were actually underground tunnels. And they didn't do this just because it was easier. Nope, it was way smarter. Building underground protected the water from getting contaminated, and, just like with the qanats, it kept it from evaporating. So cool, clean water always arrived in the city. Okay, so we've seen the mind-blowing engineering, but what problems did all this technology actually solve? This is where we see how these waterworks became the absolute foundation for massive cities, and for the first time, large-scale public health. Just think about that number for a second. 1 million. That's how many people could live together in ancient Rome, all thanks to the water flowing in from its 11 major aqueducts. There's just no way you can cram 1 million people into one city without a constant, reliable source of fresh water. This technology is what made the world's first true metropolis possible. And I love this because how they distributed the water shows you exactly what their social values were. It was a clear hierarchy. First up, number 1 on the list, was always the public fountains. This guaranteed that every citizen, rich or poor, had access to free, clean water. The famous public baths came next, and only then, after the needs of the public were met, could the wealthy pay to have water piped directly to their private homes. But here's the thing. Long before the Romans were even a big deal, another civilization was pioneering public health in a way that was absolutely revolutionary. The cities of the Indus Valley were designed with what experts now call the world's very first urban sanitation system. And this is what's so incredible about it. We're not talking about some big ditch in the middle of the street. No, we're talking about individual houses having their own wells and private bathrooms, all of which were hooked into a citywide grid of covered drains. This systematic removal of waste would have drastically cut down on diseases. It made their cities some of the healthiest places to live in the entire ancient world. So, as you can see, this is way more than just ancient history. The legacy of all these innovations is, well, it's profound. It's still influencing us today and reminds us of these timeless principles of engineering and how to manage our resources. So, how did they make sure the water was actually safe to drink? It wasn't just about moving water around. The Egyptians, for instance, used a substance called alum, which makes tiny particles in the water clump together and sink to the bottom. The Greeks came up with a simple cloth filter. And then you have the Maya, back where we started, with that unbelievable zeolite filter, a level of scientific understanding we're really only just beginning to appreciate. It's no surprise that these places are now seen as treasures of human history, protected as World Heritage Sites. But what really gets me, what's truly mind-blowing, is that some of these aren't just museum pieces. The Dujiangyan irrigation system in China, built over 2,200 years ago, is still working today. It's still managing floods and watering farmland. It's living history. So what are the big takeaways here? What can we learn from them today? Well, the lessons are incredibly relevant. First, they teach us about working with nature, not trying to dominate it. They show the value of developing super durable, sustainable materials, like that Roman concrete. And maybe most importantly, they show us the social importance of making sure everyone has access to a vital resource like water. These aren't just facts from a history book. They're blueprints for a sustainable future. And that really leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? As we sit here today, facing a global water crisis with challenges of scarcity and pollution, what if the key to our future isn't about inventing something new, but about rediscovering the genius that's been right there in our past all along?